Hello and welcome to another edition of ProtoBalls Talk. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Mobile Suit Gundam, a new translation, Heirs to the Stars. That is the full title of this movie, which covers the first 14 episodes of Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. And I would like to start off by apologizing to my recycled balls for having this be how he was introduced to Zeta Gundam.
Yeah, not gonna lie, this movie sucks. It sucks really bad. Makes me actually quite angry, quite irate. I think I'm gonna go punch a wall.
But we're going into this having watched the equivalent episodes, so we know what's all different between the movie and the show.
Spoiler alert: the show is far superior. Oh my god,
Far superior.
Far better characterization, far better looking characters. I don't know what else. Not crappy 2005-ish CG looking awful scenes.
Yeah, one of the most noticeable things about these movies is that it uses a combination of footage from the original 85 Zeta Gundam show and newly created footage that was created 20 years after the show was finished. So it clashes quite horribly. They both look good, but it's just so jarring to see both styles together.
Just like, you're watching like very good 80s animated scenes, and they look very gorgeous. Space is beautiful and everything. And then you get scenes where it's like, what the hell were you thinking? It looks like it came straight out of like RWBY. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Ruby?
Yeah, like straight out of Ruby animation. And it just looks like, okay, Ruby looks good, but this looks awful. This looks like it came from Food Fight, is what it looks like.
For the record, the majority of the new footage is still the standard cell animation style, so it's not all CG. In fact, it's mostly not CG.
It just looks awful.
The clashing of styles does jar quite a bit. But that's not nearly as bad as the fact that the movies gloss over a lot of details in the show.
So,
I just before we move on to this, I do want to say that the original Gundam trilogy were able to get away with adding in new footage and not making it look weird because it came out just a few years after the original series had ended.
Okay, see what we found out, like we said in the Star Trek II video, that, mind you, was 2 hours long. That's a record we're never gonna break. Let's try to break that record with this video. I can't. Is that the original series came out in 1979, and the movies came out starting in 1982. So it was literally 3 years after the series had ended that they did the movies.
So yeah,
which is why all the new footage looks so similar. This Zeta Gundam came out in the mid to late 80s.
The mid 80s, yes.
Mid 80s. And the movies came out in like 2005.
So there is a fairly sizable gap between the show and the movies, and the difference in animation is incredibly noticeable.
It is incredibly jarring, is what it is.
Oh, yes. But let's move on from the jarring animation.
Let's move on from jarring animation. Let's actually get into the backstory of the show.
So,
I'll let you take over this one. I'll let you rant.
So, our story takes place on a space colony called Blue Noah. Or was it Green Noah? I think it was Green Noah, actually. That's not super important because, like, the very first episode of the show reveals that they're already changing the name to Grips, so...
That's just a weird side plot.
It's weird, but it kind of has some significance later on, since overall the events of Zeta Gundam become known as the Grips War, or the Grips Conflict. So it makes sense in that context. I just don't know why it started out as Blue Noah, and then they immediately decided they were going to change the name. Whatever. So we got Blue Noah grips. This is where the story starts. We get some seemingly suspicious mobile suits that are approaching the colony.
Mind you, this takes place about 10 or so years.
7 or 8 years after.
7 or 8 years after the 1 year war, which is the war that the
original Gundam. Huh?
Yes, and it was 7 years after the Battle of Boaku. Mind you, still the greatest battle of all time in Mobile Suit Gundam history. Don't at me.
I'm just saying, you haven't seen all of Gundam.
Shut up.
It is a great battle.
I know a great battle when I see it. So some mobile suits are pulling up. They're scouts, is what they are. They're sort of just scouting out the area, taking a look at things, and they sneak into the base. They manage to
Just sit back from the mic. You get way too close to the mic. I'm sorry.
Is this way too close? So they just not dispose, but indispose of some workers on the spaceport.
Sneak into the colony.
They sneak into the colony, and we're introduced to Lieutenant Quattro.
Quattro Bagina, who is exactly who you think it is just from watching it. They do not hide the fact that he is, in fact,
Char Aznable.
At all. In fact, he basically reveals himself to the audience to already be
Char Aznable.
So it's not.
It's a forbidden word. We don't speak of it in the open. Lest he
Until they do.
Shh.
But yeah, no. So
he's Char Aznable.
It's super obvious.
It's literally a fourth wall break where Char it's almost like one where he looks at the screen and he's like, "Yeah, I am who you think I am."
I mean, he doesn't actually do that,
no.
but he definitely does say stuff that clues the audience into who he really is.
So he sneaks in and he's having a look around.
He's in this new reddish mobile suit called a Rick DS, which looks great.
Yeah, the Rick DS looks actually really good.
I don't have a model of the Rick DS yet.
Well, you do have him.
I do have Haro, yes.
Haro.
But so he sneaks into.
And he's flying around, taking a look at things, and a Gundam flies by.
Oh yeah, the Gundam Mark IIs. They created 3 of them, and by they I mean the Titans. Who I suppose I should probably explain who the Titans are, because they will be super significant in all 3 of these movies.
Remember the Titans.
Okay, so the Titans are essentially a branch of the Federation that have quite a bit more authority than the rest of the Federation.
Hold on. You're underselling it, ProtoMet. I got this.
Okay.
The Titans are Nazis.
The Titans are basically Nazis.
They're Nazis. Let's not hide it.
We had Giran Zabi be compared to Hitler, unironically. Now we have
Nazis now.
Now we have Nazis.
What that twist? This is M. Night Shyamalan. This is Shyamalan levels of ironic twist.
Like it's not super obvious right away that they're basically Nazis, but as you watch more and more of the series, it becomes increasingly clear that these guys are basically the fucking Nazis.
They're the Earth Nazis, is what they are. They're the Nazis of Earth.
Basically.
And they're trying to kill off all the space noids.
Well, really. they're trying to basically assert their authority over space noids.
They want they're like Eric Cartman. They want them to respect their authority.
And probably one scene that does help exemplify just how authoritarian the Titans are is when we have a civilian boy, Camille Bidan, in custody for the show. The movie doesn't reveal this right away, but he punched a Titan officer for basically calling him a girl because because the guy Jared something, we'll call him Jared Leto.
Yeah.
He's a jerk. He hears somebody call Camille by his name and is like, Camille? Oh, I thought that was a girl's name.
Sounds like yeah, Jared, we're gonna call him Jared Leto. And he's a jerk. Sounds like the real Jared Leto. Oh!
I don't know it. I barely know anything about Jared Leto.
I'm kidding. But the scene before this, in the show, at least, I just want to bring this up. We watched the international release, English dub. I know. How much of a heresy we've committed. But the internet...
It's weird because I'm actually quite a bit of a purist who prefers the subs over the dubs, and I have yet to actually watch the subs.
But in the international version of the television show, the opening and the ending. Let's just get to that.
For legal reasons, the original opening and ending themes for Zeta Gundam were replaced with what was essentially background music from the show,
and it's amazing.
They fit so well.
The opening is like a bombastic, epic Lord of the Rings type. It's like a Lord of the Rings theme in space, you know.
Which is in stark contrast to the more pop tune opening themes that the Japanese version originally had.
And the ending. The ending, we hear
it's upbeat sax music.
It's upbeat, sexy sax music. It is... I'm calling it the sexy sax song, even though it's actually called A Boy in Green Noah. I actually looked up the title of that song. Okay. Yeah, it's called A Boy in Green Noah. It's a great song. I highly suggest you look it up and listen.
It is incredibly catchy. It's not a song, it's a background music, but it's still catchy.
It is incredibly catchy just on the power of that saxophone, which is like, oh my god, like, this sounds like something straight out of like a 40s nightclub.
But again, both of them just work.
They really work. So just wanted to bring that up because the scene before I was just talking about the scene before that. It shows Camille running through Green Noah, a beautiful scene to that ending theme, and it's a great musical piece with his girlfriend. Yes, he has a girlfriend.
I'm sure he's not willing to admit that fact.
A protagonist, a main character in a Gundam series, having a girlfriend? What? No.
To be completely honest, it isn't until quite later on in the series that I really even got a vibe that they were even a couple.
I got that right.
Completely honest.
I got that right away.
The movies kind of beat you over the head with it, especially in the second movie, but I'll talk about that when we get that far.
So let's talk about Camille Bidan.
He is your standard rebellious teen. He thinks he knows more than the adults.
This is something that became really kind of a trope in the mid to late 80s, mostly because of the time period that it came in. Japan was in a really weird era. It was the highest that the teen rebelliousness had ever gotten. It had the highest rate of teen arrests by, I believe, 1985, 1986. And this is around the same time when Akira came out, which was sort of a deconstruction of where Japan was at the time culturally. It was in this weird. We
should totally do a podcast on Akira at some point.
Oh my god. Wait for it. Wait till the end of this video or near the end of the movie, okay?
Okay.
But yeah, we should do Akira. But Japan was going through just a weird sort of transformative era because this was right near the end of the
economic bubble.
Right near the end of the economic bubble, and also near the end of the Showa era.
The Showa era, yes.
It was right near the end of the Showa era and right at the beginning of the Reiwa.
Heisei.
Reiwa
is the new one that just started this year.
Yeah, so it was really sort of a
transitionary period in Japan.
In Japan history, and the children and mind you, most of the teens that grew up in the 80s their parents grew up during World War II, during just sort of the worst era of Japan's history. Culturally and economically, most of Japan was already raised by this point.
And this is actually kind of similar to basically them being the generation who suffered through the 1 year war.
Yes,
comparatively
speaking. It's actually a very comparative, and that's what I think is actually interesting about some of the mid-'80s anime. You got Fish of the North Star, which is basically saying that this generation may drive us to war, may drive us to the brink of extinction. Dragon Ball Z is sort of a fantasy that's meant to distract from the horrors of the current world. Akira, obviously, is a movie that's a deconstruction of the era. A lot of
Fist of the North Star was just super violent, hyper violence.
Well, that's what I said.
Ultra violence.
It was basically saying that this generation was going to drive us to the brink of extinction. And it's a really... And Zeta Gundam basically says, here's the aftermath of a generation that has gone through war. Of course they're going to be rebellious, because things have changed now. Things are a little more authoritarian after a terrible war like that.
The Titans. The Titans are utterly authoritarian.
The Titans are essentially the equivalent of the U.S. Peace Army in America, or in Japan during the time. America, I don't think left... America as an army, I don't think actually left Japan until long after Vietnam.
So you're saying that Zeta Gundam is a far deeper series than I had even realized?
Yeah.
Huh. Now I must banish these thoughts from my mind and continue on with the fact that Camille is basically being held in a holding room in basically a Titan prison, basically.
So Camille is your insert biker character from Akira, but given more depth.
Oh yeah, he starts off kind of being whiny and being like, "Oh, adults don't know anything."
And starting right here, this is the biggest difference between Camille in the show and Camille in the movie. Camille in the show,
we're given the development to understand where he's coming from as a character, to understand his angst.
He hates the guy that called him a girl because
he doesn't like the fact that he basically has a girl's name, and this person just casually is like, "Oh, I thought it was a girl's name," not giving any consideration to the person who has the name.
Yeah,
and that's why he lashes out.
And he's actually kind of cool in the first opening scenes. He's skipping class and all that. And he gets caught.
He's too cool for school.
He's too cool for school, you know. He also has a great character design, by the way.
And this gets developed in further episodes, but he also has a very strained relationship with his parents, particularly his father, who has a mistress. And it's not really that much of a secret.
Yeah, even his mom knows about
it. Basically, yeah.
And his mom, is
basically bailing him out of prison, even though it was totally the other guy's fault.
Yeah, pretty much. In the movie,
we just start off with him in prison.
Okay, in the movie, he comes across as whiny and bitchy all throughout the movie because we're not given the proper development to understand where he's coming from. In the show, he actually kind of mellows out, and it makes sense where he's coming from. He didn't ask for this. He was sort of put in this position like Amuro. But instead, unlike Amuro, he chose to be a pilot.
But we haven't gotten to that point yet.
No.
So, just as Camille is about to be let go because his mom's lawyer shows up to bail him out, basically.
Another Titan officer decides to speak up like an asshole. As all things are in life. And not Armor.
Camille.
Camille decks him.
Yeah, and this does not go well. However, they don't have much time to dwell on this because, as it turns out, the Rick Diaz and the Gundam Mark IIs have begun engaging in battle.
Oh, but I just want to say that lawyer character, he's an asshole. He shows up for like one scene only, but he's an asshole.
He probably gets killed in the collapse of the...
He probably gets killed in the collapse.
The entire reason Camille is able to escape is because the detention facility ends up having a partial collapse due to the battle that's going on outside.
Yeah, and he just sort of runs
off. Runs to the Titan base.
Even abandoning his mother who was looking for him.
He goes to the Titan base, actually hijacks one of the Gundam Mark IIs.
And it's here when he's hijacking one of the Mark IIs, I think Model 3, is it?
It's Unit 3.
Unit 3. It's here if we see a familiar face. Captain Bright! Ha!
Bright Noah!
Bright Noah's back! Yes!
And this is actually the first of...
That was my first
Actually, the second of numerous characters from the original series that will appear throughout the series.
That was actually like my first mark-out moment on the movie, to be honest, because I didn't realize...
I recognize this guy!
Hey!
I know who this is!
Hey! Also, we get introduced to another character who becomes very important.
Titan officer Emma Sheen.
Emma Sheen.
And she's basically the one that Camille hijacks the Gundam from, basically.
Also, I just want to say, Emma is a very good-looking character.
She is. You would definitely get along with Mao from Gundam Build Fighters.
Okay.
I'll just leave that without the context for anybody who hasn't seen that, but...
Even I don't have the context. But yeah, Emma's a great character.
Oh, yeah.
She's a very good-looking character, too.
But while
most of these characters are actually very good-looking. So.
Oh, yeah, they've got some great character designs.
Especially that Lieutenant Quattro.
Anyway, so Camille has hijacked the Gundam Mark II, one of the Gundam Mark IIs, and instead of using it to engage in the battle that's starting to develop, he decides to be...
an asshole.
Kinda. And he basically turns to the detention officer that was holding him and basically threatens him with a Gundam. The detention officer does not have a mobile suit.
The guy is like not even the size of the Gundam's feet.
And basically the whole thing is Camille is basically going, it's like, oh, how does it feel now to not be in power, huh? Doesn't feel so empowering now, huh?
He's kind of throwing a temper. He's kind of throwing a temper tantrum, to be honest. Let's be honest now. But it's enjoyable. It's funny.
It's like you get it. It's like, yeah. But
anyway, you know, he's sort of wreaking havoc on things, and Jared is the pilot for...
He's the normal pilot for the Unit 3, so he's all sorts of confused as to what's going on.
Yeah, because he's piloting, what, number 2?
I don't even recall if he even ends up piloting a Gundam during this scene.
I'm pretty sure he was in the Gundam.
He was in the Gundam when it crashed into the building before, and then he got out, and then that was the same unit that Camille hijacked.
Okay.
So
anyway, Camille realizes he's in a sticky situation. He could either help out the other unit, or he could befriend these guys who are attacking. And
now I should mention that that Quattro and his Rick Diaz team are actually working for an organization called the AUG, the Anti-Earth Union Group, which are not terrorists who are trying to destroy Earth, I should mention. They're actually more opposed to the Titans than Earth in general.
So, yeah, they're not against the Federation, per se. Some of them are in the Federation. The major difference is that they're against... They're essentially the French underground during World War II. They're freedom fighters.
Yeah,
they're not terrorists.
They're rebels.
They don't kill civilians.
At least they don't try to.
They try to minimize as many casualties as possible, unless they're Titans.
They're the good guys.
they And there's the difference between the show and the movie. In the movie, I thought they were terrorists.
It's easy to assume that they were terrorists because this early
in the show, they explain who the AUG are. They're just, oh, they want their freedom, huh? We'll show them freedom.
Yeah. So Camille decides to go with the AUG and steals the second Gundam.
Steals the second Gundam.
So it's Quattro's team, Camille, and
we also have to talk about another character, Roberto.
Roberto. I barely remember too much about him outside of what happens in the.
We'll talk about that.
In the he gets a bit more to do in the manga series Char's Deleted Affair, which I definitely recommend checking out.
Just know he's the equivalent of Ray in this movie, and we all know how that goes.
Ray? From...
Oh, not Ray. Hold on.
You mean Ryu?
Yes. No, not Ryu. Ryu! Ryu! Yeah, he's the equivalent of Ryu in this movie, and we all know how that goes.
So anyway, Camille sides with the AUG, escapes with a second Mark II, and they escape into the AUG's main ship, the Argama.
At this point, after having had it been stolen, we're introduced to the. Whoa! I don't know who that was. Oh, I got a weird phone call. What the?
Anyway.
So at this point, we're introduced to the commander of the Titans,
Bascom. And
he's a bastard.
He's a bastard. One of the earliest scenes that I can definitely recall is a scene where Bright Noah is in his office, basically being like, "Hey, what the heck? Why were you like holding like secret training for your Gundams and getting people involved? This is supposed to be a civilian colony, not military."
And it sort of turns into a 40s mafia gangster scene. Oh, you want to backtalk, eh? Pow!
Yeah! Bright gets the shit beat out of him by the Titans, which is a good indicator that these guys are the bad guys.
And even
when they're beating up a war hero.
And Emma's with Bright, and even Emma's just like,
this is a bit extreme, don't you think?
It's
like, we're the Titans. We have more authority than you do.
Yeah, Bask puts back on his helmet. He's got some weird goggles. I don't know what the hell they are.
They're just goggles.
But I mean, you can tell him.
It's not even a helmet. It's just a hat.
I mean, goddamn, you can tell him apart.
He loves his hat.
I mean, yeah, the goggles and the hat, you can definitely tell him apart in a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also bald, too, and he's got, like, a neck back. He's also got folds on the back of his head. I mean, Jesus, he looks fat, but he's not fat.
So in the aftermath of all this, Bask basically has Emma and Jared go out to the Argama with a white flag to deliver a message to the Argama crew, their commanders. And it's around this point that Camille is getting introduced to the other characters aboard the Argama.
And the biggest difference, and the movie rushes it so poorly.
Yeah, they rush it.
It's like, here's that guy doesn't become important in the series. He's important in the show, not in the movies.
Yeah, so
Emma
goes to the Argama.
This movie sucks, okay? This movie sucks.
Emma goes to the Argama with the message. Jared hangs back with instructions to basically
shoot a capsule if they start coming to
keep an eye on this capsule that's floating out in space, and if any of the AUG members go to interact with it, shoot it. So they're assuming, this is some bomb. So Emma delivers the message, and the capsule contains Camille's mom.
Yeah, the reaction is just sort of like, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
have you even read this message? What? How dare you?
Emma hadn't even read the message, so she reads the message. It's like, wait, what? They've got Camille's mom in the capsule? That's what's in the capsule? Oh man.
Hold on. I gotta make a phone call. I gotta call a friend.
And then so there's chatter around the ship about Camille's mom.
And Camille finds out about it.
Camille finds out about it because one of the guys thinks that he's somebody else because he's wearing a pilot uniform, because that was the only thing they had left.
We gotta talk about another character who was introduced earlier in the movie. Got rushed. What's her name?
Rekkawa?
Rekkawa. Yes.
Rekkawa Land.
And here's the biggest problem with the movie, folks.
It rushes through so many characters that...
Not only does it rush through characters, a lot of the characters look the same. Rekkawa and Emma have the same facial structure. The only difference is the hair color, if you're paying attention.
And I'm still able to make the distinction because the show actually tries to develop them individually.
Exactly. It also helps that they also have different postures, which the movie misses.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get to one of the big problems with the movies real soon.
I hate this movie so bad.
So Camille finds out that his mom is being held hostage by the Titans, because of course she is,
and rushes out to go save her.
He goes out in the Mark II to try and save his mom, and Jared
shoots it.
Jared shoots the capsule. Again, he thought it was a bomb, shot the capsule, no explosion. I was like, huh.
Oh.
And then Camille's like, you murderer! You killed my mom! And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Because Jared had no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Just like Jared having no fucking clue.
We'll get into Jared. Just you fucking wait. Oh, I hate this motherfucker, okay?
Thankfully, he's the kind of character that you're kind of supposed to hate. So,
and you know what the difference between this... Jared is supposed to be Camille's rival. This guy isn't even fit to lick Camille's boots. Fuck this guy.
He thinks he's Camille's rival. I basically feel overall with Jared.
He is the insect on Camille's boot that just won't die.
I kind of feel like the rivalry between Camille and Jared was supposed to be like a skewed reflection of Amuro and Char's rivalry. Except whereas that one was a legit rivalry, the rivalry is incredibly one-sided, with Camille being way superior to Jared right from the get-go.
Not one-sided relationship-wise. Camille absolutely hates Jared and everything he stands for because he killed his mom, first and foremost, called him a girl, secondly, and
is a Titan!
And then disrespected his mother's death later on in the movie and show. And, the hypocrisy of this motherfucker.
No, this is where things start to get a little blurry with regards to what's all happening.
So Camille and Jared fight. Emma comes out to try and stop Camille from killing Jared, pretty much. Jared escapes, and so what happens is
Emma basically has to convince Camille to come back with her to the Titans
because Camille's dad's also a hostage.
Yes.
In quotation marks.
Also, apparently his dad helped design the Mark IIs.
Yes, he designed.
And he is kind of anal about it at one point. But so anyway, Emma takes Camille.
He's such a terrible character.
Takes Camille and the Mark IIs back to the Titan ship. I think the Alexandria it's called.
And Camille's put in the brig, and Emma's just sort of hanging around.
Emma's actually given some authority to deal with the Argama, and so she decides to use this opportunity to spring Camille and his dad and steal all 3 Mark IIs.
Yeah, so what happens is, Captain Bass is just like,
he gives her the authority to do so because she has the balls to question his orders.
Yeah, Bass is just like, well, you pansies never question me. Emma, I'm giving you the job. I think you're the right mind for it because you did question me that one time.
So basically, Emma helps Camille.
And Emma's just like, sure thing, boss. Pow! All right, let's go. Move! Now!
So at this point, it should be obvious that Emma has defected to the AUG. Yay!
In the movie, it's just more like...
And then shit becomes a clusterfuck.
Yeah, in the movie, it's more like, well, why'd she... Oh, so she's joining with the terrorists. Oh, okay. Because the AU never get that backstory, and I'm still thinking they're terrorists. So I'm just like, Why are these people flip-flopping for no reason? This is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some stuff that I had to explain later on.
Which is exactly why we should have seen the show first. But
I'm sorry!
You're not sorry! Sorry will never be enough for this travesty!
Anyway, so anyway, back on the Argama, we got Camille still in a strained relationship with his dad, who decides...
And his dad's a complete asshole.
His dad's a complete asshole who basically takes a hostage to steal a Rick Diaz.
Yeah, and no, like, he's just like, that's a mighty fine ship, give me it.
Uses like a welding torch or something to hold a guy hostage.
Steals it, and then gets killed.
Yeah, he gets shot down in space. Camille's dad died. Camille
is not too heartbroken over it.
He's not as heartbroken as with his mom.
I mean, it affects him somewhat because now he's lost both his parents in like the span of a week. But
right, but so yeah, and then there's a scene where like Emma, Camille, Quattro, and Reco are all talking in like a
by this point,
a rec room or something.
I just want to mention Quattro is such a great character. I mean, it is Char.
It is Char after all.
But Quattro is just
he feels more mature as a character.
Yes. He's no longer the impulsive, brash, confident hero that he's actually kind of more
subdued
and jaded. Actually, he's kind of more jaded.
Yeah, that. So anyway, they're talking. I think at one point they bring up the Colony 13 incident, which in the show was covered by Quattro, Emma, and Camille actually going to Colony 13 and seeing all the dead bodies that were caused by the toxic gas that was pumped into the colony by the Titans. In the movie, they just are like, "Oh, this happened. Here's a little video of it. This lady's skull fell off just while we were filming it. Just happened."
If it isn't obvious enough, the Titans are Nazis.
The Titans are Nazis.
They are, in fact, Nazis. National Socialists.
Oh, it just gets so friggin' confusing at this point in the movie because they decide to cram together a bunch of storylines.
They introduce a character and then kill her off less than, 10 minutes later.
Yeah, and she gets more developed in the show. But this is more for Jared's development. It's like, no, you killed this person that I kind of had some feelings for. Even though I honestly kind of...
I've known her for only 10 minutes. How dare you
How dare you murder her? You killed my mom!
Yes! The gall of this motherfucker!
Fucking Jared!
Hey, kid.
And that's not even the only plot line that's just crammed in.
In the fucking show! When Jared sees Camille, he's like, "Hey, kid, didn't know about your mom. Sorry about that." In the least remorseful way possible.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Sorry about your kid, Ma."
Jared's an asshole. Jared is a self-righteous, self-important asshole who thinks he's the center of the universe.
Sorry about your kid, Ma. Oh my god. And then sorry about your ma, kid. Oh my god.
Oh, but yeah, at this point, things get just so confusing. They cram so much together to try and...
I don't even know her name. They don't even mention her name.
I think it was Lila something.
It shows how much...
They really didn't try to develop her all that much.
Shows how much me, with my ADHD ass, tried to pay attention and just...
Oh, and also at about this point, Rekua is sent on a mission to go infiltrate Drabero.
And we don't see her. We don't see her for 20 minutes. In the show, we actually see her going down there.
We actually see her in the jungles and encountering a character from the previous series, which we'll talk about soon. Oh,
we'll get to that. We'll talk to that fucking scene in just a minute.
So during all this confusion, Bright Noah and his transport ship come under the attack of a mobile armor, a transforming mobile armor. I think it's the Masala.
Anyway,
if I'm recalling correctly.
Anyway, Camille.
Maybe it was the Gapland.
Anyway, either way, it doesn't matter. Camille and crew save them. They bring them on, and Bright Noah officially defects.
Yeah.
And it's here we're introduced to Camille's girlfriend.
Reintroduced. Fa Yuri Yuri.
Yuri.
Yuri. Yuyry. Yuri.
Yuri. Yeah, Yuri.
That is so hard to say. Yuri. Anyway, we get reintroduced to her, and she mentions that her parents were arrested by the Titans because they knew Camille and his family.
And then we cut to a scene of two people being in prison!
Now,
and it's not the parents like I thought!
yes, I actually had turned to Tanner to try and explain this, and he was like, "Oh no, I know what's going on. These are these are Fa's parents." I was like, "No, they're not." He legitimately thought they were Fa's parents because
this movie is poorly edited, makes terrible cuts, and when you have a line like that preceding the scene, I'm sorry, but to somebody who's never seen Zeta Gundam before, you're gonna lose them.
Yeah, I was going to.
It's actually Rikuwa and Kai. Kai's back.
Yay! Hooray for Kai.
And he's wearing a chic white suit, dude.
Yeah, the show actually gives these two characters a bit of development by having them meet in the jungles of Jaburo, and Kai basically introducing himself as a journalist, as an investigative journalist during all this. So that's why he's there. He just happens to come upon Rekuwa.
And I mean,
they end up getting caught by the Titans and imprisoned.
And I mean, great for Kai. I mean, to go from a pilot to an investigative journalist in 7 years. That takes a lot of hard work. He had to go to college for that, and he had to get a space degree in journalism. Those are hard to come by, especially at Space Harvard, where I assume he went.
Oh, that space paperwork!
Oh, that space paperwork! My God! And that space currency he would have had to carry with him.
Anyway, so yeah,
we're shitting on the fact that.
But yeah, no, this was what we were alluding to before.
This is a terribly cut scene.
Yeah, he legitimately thought that these two characters, one of whom had been introduced prior to the scene, were two characters who hadn't yet been introduced, and honestly never properly are. So, great job, movie!
They're in Jaburo, and now the Aeug are attempting to go to Earth.
Yes, their
plan is to go to Earth and
attack Jaburo, which is, to their understanding, the Titan headquarters.
Yeah, it's no longer the Federation headquarters. The Federation moved headquarters. I don't know where, but
things get a lot more confusing. A guy dies upon re-entry because he gets too close to Camille, and his thing kind of tips over, and he burns up in re-entry. Yeah, and Jared gets pissed off about that too.
I just want to say that's a great fight scene, though. The fight for the entry into Earth is actually a great scene. Because it shows the Gundam is actually able to not have to use a parachute to survive entry.
Right. And so, ultimately, the Aeug are able to get the majority of their forces down, and they start a siege against Jaburo, and it's mostly abandoned.
Yeah. It's like, they get down there, and they're like,
This has been surprisingly easy to take over. Even Jared, who is a Titan, is surprised at how easy it is. And the reason is because, well,
they planted a nuclear bomb.
Well, they've basically been evacuating the place for a good long while now. They've been moving to a new place to call their headquarters and just abandoning Jaburo. And the Aeug have infiltrated Jaburo, not knowing that they've basically set a nuclear
bomb
to blow up the facility.
Mind you, nuclear weapons were banned in the 1 Year War.
They were banned during the events of the 1 Year War. So this would be a major treaty violation if the Titans gave a damn. Which clearly they don't.
Seriously, the Titans are above the law. They are Nazis. They're Nazis.
I feel there is a scene, I think, from the show, and I'm not sure if it's actually in the movie, where one of the Titans basically rationalizes this as being, that was a treaty that was signed during one war. That war is over, so we can just ignore it.
Great rationalization. Hey guys, the Geneva Convention the Geneva Articles, they were written during World War II. But World War II's over. We can forget that shit.
Now, I feel at this point, I want to mention something
We should be able to use biological warfare all we want.
There's
Too late, they already did.
I want to talk about a subplot that is mentioned repeatedly in the show and some of the movies that is basically Quattro's whole deal for why he's joined the AU. The Earth needs to heal from the 1-year war. It was very devastated by the 1-year war. It needs time to heal. And the Titans and all this stuff that are still battling on Earth are not helping.
Hashtag justice for Sydney.
That's a call back to Operation British. If you don't know what Operation British is, look it up. I swear, it's actually relevant to this conversation.
Yeah.
But basically, Quattro's whole idea is that humans should move to space and let the Earth heal itself from the 1-year war.
Okay, yeah, but it's not explained in the movie.
Not really, no.
And to be honest, that's kind of a dumb plot.
It is a very dumb...
It's a very dumb plot. It's a very dumb idea. Humans don't need to move anywhere. The Earth will heal itself on its own, with or without us. But it's already doing that right now in real life.
So during all this...
Killing us all off as is.
So anyway, during all this...
God, you're just getting frustrated with my quips.
I just want to move forward with the plot.
No! You get nothing!
Okay.
You lose! Good day, sir!
I'm sorry.
So anyway, they're all trying to figure out what happens. They start interrogating one of the Titan officers. And
he's not even a Titan officer. He's just a regular Federation officer.
He's a regular Federation officer.
He wants to get the hell out of there because he knows about the nuke. He tells them about the nuke. It's like, if I'm lying, you can execute me or whatever. Let's just get the hell out of here. And it's during all this commotion that Jared and Camille fight again. Camille ends up saving Rekka and Kai.
Not only does he end up rescuing Rekka and Kai, he starts to develop.
Well, I think he's kind of been developing new type abilities all throughout this series. And so this is not even the first instance of somebody sensing something from him. So
Char can sense something from him.
One thing I will definitely say about the Zeta series is that it goes a bit more in depth about the new type concept, and I love that. And the movie just kind of rushes through it. It does try to do stuff.
Oh yeah, they're just acclimated to space, so they're able to, they have super sense.
It's more complicated than that. But anyway,
more complicated than that movie. That's your fucking problem. You try to fit 14 episodes into an hour and a half when you could have done it in 2.5.
Like the original trilogy.
And it would have worked a lot better. I hate this movie.
I can completely understand that. Let's get through this. Let's get through this together. Anyway,
I don't think I can, man.
It's okay. It's okay. We're all buddies. We got through.
What's that rumbling noise?
Oh God.
Yeah, that's how the base blows up. These two guys, they're chasing the AU Gundams, and the Gundams are already on the ship.
Anyway, they save Rekka and Kai. They manage to get to a Federation transport ship, a Garuda.
And
which is called the Aldumla. Try remembering that name.
And they're getting shot at.
They're getting shot at from behind. They do manage to escape. The bomb goes off, destroying the Jaburo base, which...
And like I said in the scene, there's two Gundam there. They're trying to figure...
No, they're not Gundams. They're
Hyzaks. Two Hyzaks,
which are basically the... Federation equivalents to the Zakus.
Yeah, they're basically the Zakus.
Not even like Gims. They're just straight up Zaku redesigns.
Yeah,
they look exactly like if you didn't know it was supposed to be a separate mobile suit, you would look at like, hey, that's a Zaku.
Yeah, but so the eggs escape, and so they're trying to plan their next plan of action, and the ground starts rumbling, and they're like, well, what's that?
And this is, again, for the guys in the Hyzaks.
Yeah, the guys in the Hyzaks. And boom! And you just see the Hyzaks get obliterated. Completely, melted away to nothing. And then you see the Amazon rainforest just hit with this nuclear blast. And I said in the show and in the movie, I was like, God damn, that's a lot of damage for the Amazon.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And that ties into Quattro's whole deal.
Yeah.
Part of his ethos for joining the AUG. So,
it's also kind of an analog to real life, because we were, at this point, we were starting to ban nuclear testing in the Earth's
and
atmosphere.
ironically, the Amazon rainforest was facing deforestation.
Yeah.
So,
kind of a unintentional message there, Zeta Gundam. Good for you.
It was probably intentional.
Probably.
But anyway, so
they escape, and
in the aftermath of this, they managed to hook up with the group called Karaba, which are basically their allies on Earth.
Yep. And who's with them?
Hayato Kobayashi.
Hayato's back, baby!
Yeah, the pilot of the gun tank, or if you were watching the movies, the gun tank and the second gun cannon.
Dude's great. I love him.
I feel that he gets a bit more development here in Zeta than he did in the original series, but I still really love the scene that he has with Frau during the Battle of Solomon.
Oh yeah, by the way, Frau is back.
Oh yeah, she's not with Hayato. No, she goes with her adopted children, Katz, Kika, and Let's to visit
the three kids from the original movies and series. You know the ones. If you've seen the series, you know the ones. They're all grown up now.
So basically, to summarize, Frau married Hayato, and they adopted the 3 kids from the white base.
Yeah.
So Frau and the adopted kids go to visit a certain friend of theirs from the war.
And here's where it brings back the one problem with this movie. All the characters look the same. Frau looks the same as Rekawa. Rekawa looks the same as Emma. And you know what? They actually kind of look the same as Fa. All 4 of them kind of look similar. At a glance.
The more you get into
the more you get into the devil's in the details. Yeah. I'm just saying, you know, if you're not paying attention,
you might get confused. It's like, what's Emma doing here visiting Amuro? Who are these kids that are with her?
Yeah. What's Emma? Oh wait, Emma has dark hair. That's right. Emma has shiny dark green hair.
But yeah, so
this movie's a clusterfuck. Oh my god.
Frau and the kids go to visit Amuro, and Amuro ultimately decides to go investigate something with Katz, so they kind of separate from Frau and the other 2 kids, and that's basically the extent of Frau and the other kids' involvement in this series, to be honest.
Yeah, they kind of don't really show up again. They're just sort of there as, hey, it's a cameo.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Anyway, so they need to get out of they need to get back into space real quick.
The AU, they need to get back into space.
There's a nice battle as they're trying to get back into space on spaceships. And it's here...
With the help of Karaba.
With the help of Karaba. And it's here that we get a great, amazing death scene. Not nearly as much of an emotional impact, but, I mean, it's Roberto.
Roberto-san! No. Honestly, I didn't think Roberto had gotten that much development, so...
Roberto didn't get much development.
In the show, at least.
It wasn't like Ryu, but, I mean,
you knew who he was.
Yeah. He was a constant on the crew.
Until he wasn't.
Until he was.
But he sacrificed himself to allow one of the shuttles to make it to space, so that the AU pilots could return to space, leaving behind Camille and Quattro. So they're still on Earth. They're still being pursued by the Titans, and Amuro and Katz join in on the fun.
And they manage to beat back the Titans, and you know they get away from everybody, and
we have this reunion scene between Amuro and Char, which the movie feels like it's trying to build up, and
it's just sort of happens.
Yeah,
in the show, it's more like Is that who I think it is?
Yeah,
it is who I think it is.
The show doesn't try to build it up as much because it knows this is just a happenstance. This isn't supposed to be anything significant.
Yeah.
This just happens.
The movie
treats it as though it's some super significant thing.
The movie treats it like it's Tetsuo!
Canada!
Tetsuo!
Canada!
Tetsuo!
Canada! Or at least that's what it seems like the movie's trying to do.
And that's why I said we'll get to the end of this movie with Akira.
And that's where the movie ends.
Yep, that's the first movie. Holy crap, does this movie suck. 4 out of 10. 4 out of... Great visuals, great battle scenes, but holy shit, do not watch this
And
movie.
I will admit that the mobile suit designs at this stage in the series are good. I really enjoy them. I'll get into the other later designs later.
This movie just sucks. Oh my god, I hate this movie.
I am...
Especially in comparison with the TV show.
The TV show is great. It's...
The first episode, I was like, God, this is already better than the movie. Look at this. Look at these visuals.
He was like maybe halfway into the movie, 5 minutes into the movie, and he was already hooked on the show.
Yeah.
Because the show was trying to explain what's all going on, whereas the movie severely condensed everything.
Here's the difference between the movie and the show. The movie goes with a show don't tell approach. Well, when you don't tell us enough, we're gonna be fucking confused. The show went more liberal with its explanation, with its...
It had a lot more time to develop itself, to explain its story. Now let's compare this to the original Gundam trilogy.
There's no comparison. The original.
I just mean in the approach. The original Gundam trilogy of movies were each about 2.5 hours long, and we're condensing 49
episodes.
No, 43. They were condensing 43-ish episodes into 3 movies. The Zeta Gundam, A New Translation movies, are condensing 50 episodes into 3 hour-and-a-half long movies. Oh, obviously, condensing stuff that much, you're going to lose a lot in the translation. Pun intended. This was not a good movie.
It was a half-assed attempt, is what it was. It was a half-assed attempt at retelling the story. And it was critically successful by both.
It was a surprising hit over in Japan, especially with women. So, go women.
That's because Camille's a hottie.
That, and I think Zeta Gundam does some... well, I'll get to that starting with the next movie.
Zeta Gundam has some very strong female characters.
And the second movie introduces some more. And yeah. I'll talk more about that when we get to talking about the next movie, whenever that's going to be.
I don't really care for when that's going to be.
We're gonna probably watch the movie and then watch the equivalent episodes for comparison's sake. So
just because I feel like torturing myself and then trying to recover. That's life.
I will say that the second movie introduces probably my favorite character in the Zeta Gundam series. So look forward to that being butchered.
But
this. Just skip the movies, go to the TV show. Sure, it takes a lot longer to do, but it's a much more satisfying thing.
It is much more satisfying, and it's a lot more philosophical, and it's a lot better. And I've already quote unquote blown my load on just hating this movie, and I just.
Oh, and we'll get more Jared action too next
time.
Until next time.
Fuck me, Jared. I hate that guy.
Until next time.
This is my recycled balls.
I'm ProtoMet.
And I'm very depressed. See you next time.
See ya, guys.
Oh my god.